All right, time for another one. So we got ourselves a little different one here. This one's back to the other side of this channel, the macro side. So normally I'm making videos showing like inside baseball. My videos are mostly to explain kind of weird signs to my production team, fabrication, whatnot, kind of how to build things so we don't get confused. But thankfully, we've been super busy recently. However, the signs we've been doing are kind of like channel letters and stuff that's not too weird. So the stuff we've been making hasn't really necessitated making any videos. So unfortunately, you guys kind of miss out because I'm not making videos to explain basic channel letters. But we all know how to do that, right? So anyway, but and the other side of it is I have been really busy doing other stuff. So, it's like, well, why can't you make a video? I'm working on it. So anyway, here we are. Because we had a subscriber. I think he's a new subscriber. Appreciate you. All the subscribers out there. Appreciate you. OPSEC. I'll keep it anonymous. But they reached out and they were like, hey, here's what's up. I was wondering if you have a macro. They reached out in the electronic mails. They sent me an electronic mail and they said, hey, with your macros, do you have something that shows night view for customer drawings and channel letters, things like that? So for those playing along at home who are lucky enough not to work in the sign industry, what we're talking about here is the basics of what it is we take a customer's proposed sign, monument sign like this, or the letters that go on the wall, like a reverse channel letter. And we'll provide both them, and what we do is we make what we call in our company a permit drawing, which is, we also call this the sketch, customer sketch. Hey, are you working on that sketch for the customer? And also, though, the permit for the city is to see that this is what it's going to look like. The city's going to want to know, how big is it? Is there any like bad words on it? Does it have flames that shoot out? Does it actively have saw blades that could, cut people's arms off and things? So they need to know before they sign off. And so what we do is we make what we call a permit drawing. But part of that is to kind of give an idea, a simple idea of kind of what it's going to look like at night. So it's easy enough to kind of take a bitmap, JPEG, whatever, and then kind of put the sketch in front of it. But to do this is a little extra. So we kind of went back and forth in the electronic mails, and I was kind of like, well, here's the deal: is I don't work in this department. However, every sign we do, I would say 99% of the sign, as long as it's electric and it lights up, obviously a street sign like this, you don't need this. But anytime we do a permit drawing or with the customer, because like the sales will take sales will get the logo and then they'll work with the customer. So the customer wants to see what it's going to look like. So that usually involves either the salesperson or our install crew to go over there at some point, take a photo like this of where it's going to go. And then our graphics department, our heroes in there, will take the customer provided artwork, which is usually 96 kilobytes off of a scan of a business card, right? You know what I'm talking about. And then they have to painstakingly create a nice, vector drawing of it and get it all set. Then they'll take it and scale it out so it looks proportional of what it's going to be like. And then they do this kind of magic. Like I told him, I was like, well, I don't really know how to do this, even though I have seen this on every sign I do. But I get this part of it sent to me full size, and then I go from there. I am the concierge between reality and this, what we call the cartoon, kind of jokingly, but this is just a cartoon. But I need to take this and make it real. So I don't really mess with permit drawings. I don't really mess with the night views. However, I've seen this so many times. But so this was the first time I'm like, you know what? So I went ahead and downloaded. I went and dug through our files, because the sad thing is that all this hard work that our graphics people do, and kind of the same for me, is I make all these cool designs and stuff, or files on how to like build this stuff. But once the sign's built, this stuff is like done. A copy of this goes to the city. They stamp it. They say, yeah, that looks good to us. And then this goes in a drawer. This stays on our server, and we never see it again. Like all this hard work. So anyway, so that's why I never really paid attention to how do you do night vision. So anyway, so it was kind of a fun experiment. So I told him, I said, I'll give it a try. and I'll look into it, see how it's done. So I went and just kind of dug in the crates, and I remember this particular sign. And we just did these, and I remember there was a rendered illuminated view right here, official. So I was like, cool, like wonder how I do that. So just digging around, kind of found out that really all it is a drop shadow. So if you look down here in the bottom left, it's called drop shadow. And that's over here on the toolbar, you see shadow tool, and then you would just use shadow. And then it pulls down all of this stuff up here, right? And there's all these settings and everything. And so to me, it didn't really seem that difficult. And then what you do is you also just you take your JPEG and you kind of shrink it down, and then you put a transparency over it just to kind of give it that night view. Or Howard Hawks, where they just put a night filter for day, like in the old cowboy and westerns, where you can tell it's daytime, but they just put a dark filter so they can film during the day, but it's nighttime. Anyway, so this is kind of how that works. You just take this and kind of, make it look nighttime. So with the settings and the sliders and the transparencies, honestly, the stuff's kind of there, but because that's kind of what I don't want to do is create a macro with a button that is one button away. I don't want to like just reproduce what Corel can do in one button. But like I say, though, that's rich because down here, like pretty much all these buttons are one button of what, but I like it because it's all right here. There's a whole reason that Mr. Goodbar, everything coalesced into one spot versus going up here and dragging like an animal and kind of doing all that. So it's not that difficult to do on your own, but once I kind of got into it, it can be done in 2 buttons. And if something can be done in 15 seconds, that might take 8 minutes. It doesn't seem like a lot, or even 4 minutes. It might not even take 8 minutes. It might only take 4 minutes. But as long as you're here where you have your picture and you have your rendering, then we can do this in 2 buttons and we're good to go. That will save you time. Times, we have sometimes 3, 4, 5 graphics people. So if 5 graphics people are having to do this on each of their sketches, hopefully you're very busy, a busy sign company. If you can do it in a couple of button pushes, that's going to save you time, and eventually that's going to save you money. If you can save minutes per week, and then you can save hours and all of that. So we can all do math. Some of us can do math. So let's see what I cooked up here. So what I did is I kind of had to dig in. So once I kind of got in here and I saw what they were doing, and it took me some Googling to try to figure out where all this lives and what the drop shadow and how that works. And then I just kind of reverse engineered their settings. It seems like each of our graphics people have their own sort of little secret sauce as far as their settings, what they like. So I kind of took an average of what looks good. So I kind of looked at this, and so I came up with this. So let's get after what I came up with. So what I did is I kind of went and, let's say Diesel Built is going to, we're moving up. We're going to get a whole building. So anyway, so I went ahead and just Google Earth, drove, kind of cruised around. I know some areas around us, we have some professional plazas, and I knew for sure, like we've put signs up around here. So I knew I could probably, so I just Street View, did a screenshot, and I got this guy. And then the one thing I noticed working with this is you want to be small. So you can see I'm working in a small, like 1/2 inch tall here. You can see where like this guy here is actually just over an 1/8 inch tall. What I found is when I first started to work with the settings and trying to dial this in, I'm used to working full size. So I had done Diesel Built in my normal, like whatever tall. Let's see, what would this be? Yeah, these are 12 inch tall. What I found is the glow looked horrible. It was like feedbacking on itself, and it was all weird and twisty, and I couldn't get it to look like this. But then I realized that maybe it had to do with that. So what I did is I did shrink it down to, the size that they were working on, and that made all the difference. So having it this size, working small, gets you that nice glow that you want. So make sure you're working, because our graphics people, they work in scale. 11 by 17 is pretty much what we print everything out, tabloid size, or 8.5 by 11, whatever. But they're always working in this scale. And then I'm working at 1:1 because I'm sending to production. So I don't work at scale. So I found that work small to start with And this is actually pretty big. This picture is 10 by 7. This won't even fit on that. So I would have to bring this down a little bit. But anyway, so that's where we're at. So let me show you what I cooked up. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate a few of these just so I have them, so I don't destroy the original, so I don't have to cook up something new. So macro. So I put it on my go time here. So I got my go time and I'm calling it the Halo machine. And I got the white and the dark right here next to each other, a little black and white cookie. And it pops up the Halo machine. So in essence, what we're trying to do with this here, get out of the way, is you got your JPEG. So somebody goes and takes a JPEG of this, simple, bitmap or whatever, it's a bitmap. And then it's the same bitmap with the transparency put over it. And then the same kind of shrunk down letters here, and then they just put a drop shadow and then with all your settings. So that's what I did. So I have the light and I have the darkness. The darkness comes. So what you do is just grab what you're going to want to put a halo on, and you're just going to push the button, the light, and there's our halo. So all nice and good. And then what you're going to do is select the JPEG, and that you want the darkness, and you push the button, and now you have darkness. So just with that, we've pretty much done that, and we've done that. So just like that. So under the hood, what it's doing is putting the glow, and then the glow you can adjust up here. So which is kind of nice. I can already hear people yelling and screaming saying, well, why don't you put the functionality on here? This is where it becomes redundant, because for me to build in all the sliders and radio buttons and all the choices and then have to build in the logic that goes with that, the yes and no, and if you put the wrong button, it crashes, all that. I just have it up here. But needless to say, pushing this one button not only, first of all, names it, because I always like to have the name, that way I can find it later. So it is being named the light. So this whole thing is called the light. And then the darkness is actually being named the darkness. You can see down on the bottom left, it's called the darkness. So I've named those two things. But what it did is it went ahead and put the drop shadow. But if you need to change anything, it's just right up here. You select drop shadow, you select the lit part, and then you can come up here and here's your palette. So if it does need to be red, you just click red and it's red, right? Or if you want, whatever color, magenta, you know who you are. Cool. Hey, Diesel Built might have some fun. Look at that. We'll do that. I doubt that will be approved in our area. I think they'll only approve that. But anyway, so you can change the color there. And then also these sliders, you can change the fuzzy and all that. You can learn that. But there are several buttons you have to push and you have to go through that. So it does make it worth the time to be able to just hit that button, boom, hit the button, you got the glow. And then also, in order to do the darkness, you need to take a whole separate rectangle, connect there, drag it like an animal, right? And then it's also just called rectangle, it's not things. Then you have to go to your properties docker, which everyone keeps their property docker, right? And then you have to go through, change your transparencies. Then you also have to order that because, let's say I just make this dark. It's first in the order of operations. So then you have to send it to the back, and then you have to send that to the back, and then you have to, et cetera, et cetera. So what the darkness is doing, which is cool, is it's grabbing the JPEG, the bitmap, and it's purposely then sending itself one up from the JPEG, but it's behind the Diesel Built. That way it doesn't go in front and cover everything. And you don't have to do that. So that's one of the added benefits. So it's doing several steps with 2 buttons, which is great. So the light, the darkness, and you're good to go. And if you look at your objects manager here, in the layer of things, you can see where this is the darkness here, right? And then this is the bitmap it's in front of. So that way it'll always be, where it needs to be in front. So anyway, so I think it's worth it. So that's what I cooked up. It's called a Halo machine, and that's going to give you your night view of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take this and I'm going to give it to my lab rats, my focus group, and I'm probably going to install this onto the people in the graphics department. I've already told them about it, and they're like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like I said, they've kind of got it down. I'm sure they can do it in their sleep. But if it can save them 8, 9, 10 steps versus just wham bam, Maybe it'll save them some time. It'll all be good. And then if it's really good, if they kind of like it, if it seems pretty simple, it seems pretty stable. But yeah, maybe I'll put it on the website if this is something you're interested in. So anyway, but that's how you do night view. So with that being said, if you have any questions, hit me up.